Welcome once again to another edition of the Talking About Cars with Randy Cardoon podcast featuring not only myself, but the one, the only Hot Rod Bob Beck. Why, you ask? It's because, listen, everybody has a car story. It is so true. In this episode, Bob and I, and he knows it, we'll be talking about what if. What if you're a 50s through 70s car guy?
Mm-hmm.
And you could be a car gal too, by the way. I don't want anybody to think I'm leaving you guys out. No. Well, no, yeah. What if they made more models than those iconic rides that we know about, more than just the hardtop or the four-door or something like that? What if, let's say, the Nomad and Custom Safari of Pontiac were not the only two-door wagons? I guess you could throw in the Ford Ranch wagon and you could throw in all the other stuff. But there are wagons that were made from 1955 to 1957. What if, humor me now, Oldsmobile in 1957 or Cadillac around that time made a Nomad style station wagon? How cool would that be? Think about that. Or Chrysler. What if, here's a weird one. What if they put a wagon on an Imperial? All right, let's bring in our guest. You might have seen his artwork on his website, auto-visuals.com. That's auto-visuals.com. Let's introduce him, bring him on board, the one, the only Stephen Erler on the program with some interesting car stories, especially with the vehicle that's behind me and all sorts of other cars we're going to show you here on the program, because it takes fantasy, it takes imagination, like I said earlier. And I think when you're putting pen to paper or pencil or whatever medium you use, you really need to come up with some creativity. And Stephen, I got to tell you, these pictures of vehicles is just an eye grabber as far as people who know those cars from when they were just regular cars to your ideas here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun to get the comments when I put them on Facebook. You always get these people that say, oh, my dad had one just like that. You're kind of going, really?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So when you started this, let's take it back. What got you involved in art, I guess? What came first, the art or the love of cars?
I've been a car lover since I was a kid. I've always been drawing cars, and I was the only kid in the art class that every project that he did was of a different Lincoln. I actually started doing the images as you see in 2008. I was out of work for a while, and I really didn't have much to do, and I was kind of bored, and I was messing around with a lot of photographs I'd taken at car shows. And a buddy of mine says, you've got to get rid of this computer and get a Mac and start doing some good stuff. So I got a new Mac and sat down with it. I wasn't working. I didn't have any really major issues going on, so I had all this time. And this buddy of mine gave me 4 one-hour lessons on the principles of Photoshop. And at that point, I started going, okay, well, let's do this and let's do that. And let's see if we can do this and make this car look better and take this out and add this on. And at that point, I started doing photographs of people's cars, friends' cars, and then rebuilding them so they look like they were a studio shot and include them in them and that sort of stuff. So it started out as sort of a trial and error with just doing the rebuild of the photographs. And then a little bit later on, I got involved with thinking, this car was such a beautiful car. It was made like the Eldorado you got behind you. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if Cadillac would have made a wagon, catering to those people that would have bought, a Vista Cruiser, but upscale. So at that point, I just started taking photographs I had taken of cars and started morphing them a little bit and seeing, could I do this? Could I do that? Let me stretch it a little bit. Let me shrink it. Let me add this to it. And of course, having all these visions in my head from being, a kid and loving cars, I had all these resources and just kind of thought, let's take that 55 Studebaker that Mom had and let's chop it and make it a competitor to the T-Birds of the 50s, make it a 2-seater, let's make it look good. So I just started working on these cars and doing these cars and just thinking that would have really been beautiful. What if Lincoln would have made a Continental Fastback instead of the notchback convertible and coupe? So I just started doing these things and just started playing around with them and just found out that I really enjoyed doing it. It was very therapeutic. I work with people all day long, and all I want to do in the evening is chill. And this is a really good way of doing it. So that's kind of how I got started.
Well, what you've done is things that maybe General Motors and Ford should have looked at, because the fortunes are right and they're exciting. Randy and I were talking off camera before you came on, and my favorite of the group is the Cadillac that looks like a Nomad.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a '57 Cadillac, and I call it the Lorient, kind of like being in the French Biarritz type of thing. That one, that's a beautiful car. I mean, and that happened to be, the car itself was a photograph I found online of the convertible. And then I went ahead and built the roof on it and put the new background on it. It's always kind of fun when you get these images to build a background that actually fits the appearance of the car. Mm-hmm. It just sort of, takes it up a level and that kind of routine. So yeah, that's one of my favorites. I get a lot of comments on that. The one that a lot of people like is the Toronado Vista Cruiser, which is kind of cool. And a friend of mine in the desert is friends with Mr. Noth, who was the designer of that car, and showed it to him, and he thought it was great. Mm-hmm. So, it's always fun to do these things and just kind of like tweak it a little bit, and like the one behind you, Randy, I did another version that was a hardtop with wood siding on it. So once you know how all these tools work in Photoshop, you can just really, really, tweak these things out and make them different, change colors and that kind of thing.
One of the reasons we really liked having you on, and as timing wise, it worked out this way. But one of the reasons we liked having you on is because this is now becoming a world of AI. And one thing this isn't, it is not AI. And I think that's to be appreciated and I think compared because AI in some ways is a good thing, but when it comes to art like this and stuff now is starting to boil over on the internet, there are websites that, or even things on Facebook that will show cars and it'll say classic cars, and then you see them and it just doesn't look right. You realize, okay, it's AI. And to me, it kind of trashes what it looks like. It's kind of doesn't look all that great. How, in your opinion, has AI helped or not helped your art as it stands now?
Since AI has become more popular, I really haven't been that involved in the market right now. I've had, a lot of work things going on, and I've sort of taken a break. I haven't been that creative the last couple of months with doing these kind of pieces. I look at the AI artwork and I think, it's interesting, but there's always a fault in it that I look at immediately and see. I think that with my eye, I'm so detail oriented with, how the lighting casts on the windows and the hubcaps and how the shading should be, that when I see something that doesn't look right, it's kind of like, oh my God, Liz Taylor's got 3 eyes there. It doesn't work. And it's sort of upsetting, especially when there's no door on the front of the car. When you're looking at these cars, you're kind of going, the lighting is cool, the idea is cool, but the car is not correct. And that's where my point is. So as I move forward with my things, I'm just going to continue to do what I have done. I mean, I don't want to use AI because every line on that Cadillac wagon behind you, the trim around the windows, that's all hand drawn with a mouse. There's every piece of, there's nothing that's computer created there. And I like that because I can get it exactly the way I want it and not how a computer spits it out.
Well, you're doing things that look like they could have come out of the design center at General Motors, Ford, or who have it. And it's something that I don't know that they ever even considered things like this, but your art would definitely make me consider it if I was working in a design center at one of the major manufacturers.
You could go to school at the design center and put a portfolio together. Just show up with your picture, show them the website. You would be in, my friend.
Definitely.
Well, it's funny. I have two very dear friends who passed away in the last couple of years. I'm sure you're familiar with Sid Mead. Mm-hmm. He was the one who did all of the special work for Blade Runner, Short Circuit, Tron.
Right.
Phenomenal artist. He worked for General Motors. He worked for Alcoa back in the 50s and 60s. And we lost him 2 years ago, but he was one of the most influential people and supporters of me saying, Steve, this is really a great idea. You're doing really, really good. He goes, I really think this is a good way to go. And he was very supportive of it. And he really liked my ideas. And he said, it's just too bad you weren't born 40 years ago. And I said, yeah, I know. But yeah, it's funny because it takes me back to when I was a kid and what we saw and how impressed we were. And that design has never left me. I've also collected a huge collection of automobile ads out of Life magazine, Look magazine, whatever. And I've had them for decades. I mean, I'm going to be 72 in September. I've had these things since I was, old enough to rip them out of the magazine. And what I'm doing now with them is I'm taking them and I'm rebuilding them in Photoshop. I'm scanning them, taking out all the flaws, recoloring them so that these pieces of art that dedicate our passion for automobiles can be, documented and viewed again. I mean, so many times you look at one of these cars and it's got the white line down the center because that's where the crease in the page was. Mm-hmm. And now I'm taking them and redoing them so they look like they were meant to be on one page. So all of these images that were input as a kid are still in my mind. And, somebody will say to me, that looks like a 55 Studebaker. No, it's 56 Studebaker. My grandfather had one. So it's kind of fun. I mean, it's like, if I was this smart, I could go to medical school, that'd be great, but I'm a car nut.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can just see you doing surgery on a computer.
Yeah, really.
Here. Wait a minute. Hold on. The first SUVs were station wagons. There were no tall vehicles. I mean, yeah, you could get a Suburban with windows, but Ford had nothing of that nature back then.
Yeah.
So it was limited into you because it drove and rode like a truck.
Sure.
Even today's trucks don't drive like a truck. So
yeah.
it's a different situation altogether. And I agree with Randy. I've got 2 station wagons. I love them.
Yeah.
And, we drive them. We enjoy them. But you see more and more. And station wagons are going skyrocketing price-wise.
Right. Yeah. And the whole thing with the Volvos, the early 80 Volvos, the 240s, I mean, those things went up to $20,000 at one point. You're going, wait a minute.
Yeah. It was a $5,000 car when it was new. Come on.
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah. And I used to have a Dodge Magnum, which to me was just such a cool car to drive around in. To be able to, people would just sit there and stop and stare and they have to come up and look at it. And because it wasn't a classic per se, it was a newer car, but still you didn't see station wagons from American builders like that at all.
And when Cadillac came out with that beautiful wagon, I mean, what happened to that? It ran for 2 years and they stopped making it?
What year was that? Do you remember?
I think it was like 2012.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Oh, yeah, on the CTSV.
The CTSV, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great looking car. I mean, it was so unique. And that was just, sorry it didn't go.
Yeah, it was a wagon for the surfer that had everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely true. Yeah, that is really kind of fun.
I saw a 57 Cadillac limousine out on Point Loma and put a sign on it. And 2 months later, I bought that. That was my daily driver in junior college.
Really?
57 Cadillac limousine.
Wow.
Great
have a little
car.
black hat you could wear.
It was great, man. Put the surfboards in the back of it, went to La Jolla Shores, everything else. God, the cars I had a pink 57 Lincoln Premier convertible, 55 Cadillac Eldorado convertible. Then I got into the Lincolns and I had 63 Continental sedan. Then I got a 63 Continental convertible. Because at this time you could buy these cars for $300 or $400.
Right.
I actually liked the Continental 63 sedan better than the convertible because it was just like the interior detail, the stainless steel of the roof, the beautiful perforated leather headliner. Those are things you just kind of look up and go, wow. So I love that. So I mean, I've probably had over 50 cars, a lot of Lincolns and Cadillacs, and I've loved every one of them. And I think about how lucky I was to have some of the cars I did.
Yeah. That would have been my life if I wasn't too concerned about the gas crunch back in, what was that, 73? Because I had an uncle who was going to give me his 63 Lincoln, and I was tempted to do it. But oh my gosh, gas prices had risen to, what was it, 63 cents a gallon or something like that. And I went, oh my God, how am I I going to get through this? I'm a high school senior, you know, that.
Yeah. Well, we were lucky. My brother, rest his soul, and I both loved cars. And he liked European cars. I liked American cars. Mom liked all cars. She took interest in everything we did. My brother he was into Morris Minors. We had 2 of those. We had a Singer Gazelle convertible. We had a 55 XK140 MC fixed head Jag coupe.
Wow.
Just had all these great cars, and you bought them for nothing.
Yep.
You know, it was just like, okay. And, you know, people would come over, and Mom would say, come over and have dinner. And they say, how will we know which house it is? And she'd say, this is the one that use cars out. You know, I mean, we have the 57 limousine and the 55 Jag and the white 63 Lincoln, and, you know, but it was good. And they allowed us to do that, and they really embraced us.
So we've talked a little bit about some of the vehicles that you've done, and a lot of station wagons and a lot of Cadillacs and that kind of thing. You also took one look, as I mentioned earlier, about the 55 to 57 Thunderbird concept, or you could even call it the Corvette concept, the 2-seater American Roadster, and you kind of spread it to other vehicles that we have seen in the past. How did that thought process go?
You know, I just kind of thought, I have a 69 Mark III Continental, and I had a picture of the car that I had taken up here. And I kind of thought, you know, wouldn't that car have been cool if it was like a 2-seater to compete with the SL Series Mercedes? So I started morphing that around and started working with it. And, you know, so many people will take an image and just cut it and move it, and that's it. Proportions are all part of it. So when I started thinking about doing these 2-seaters, I did a Mark V, I did the Mark III, I did a Studebaker, did a 55 Lincoln, and a couple other ones, but it's just kind of like fun, because it's like they should have been in the game with the Thunderbird and with the Corvette at that time.
Go ahead.
I think it would have been very, very viable products.
Well, yeah, Packard. You had a Packard, if I remember right. And I thought, man, if Packard had tried something like that, how would the world be today? There might still be a Packard floating around
exactly
car lots, for heaven's sake.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that Packard was a cool car, you know, and the way I fixed it up, it looked very, very cool, because it was a Caribbean takeoff. But you know, what I did with it was I changed the masts and the windshield to Studebaker of the same generation to give it a slicker look. And that changed the whole profile of that car and made the balance work.
Which could have been possible because Studebaker and Packard merged.
Exactly. And on the side also, I've got pictures of a Packard wagon by Pininfarina, and it's got a little bit of the flavor of the early 50s Nash wagons that were done. It's got like a step down roof on the back, and you know, but it looks something that would be very, very possible to have made.
Yeah, Packard definitely needed to be saved.
It's a big shame. But they were beautiful cars, you know, and I never liked the pregnant elephant look. I always thought that was kind of offensive to 48, 49. So I changed a couple of those and rebuilt a couple of those in the site as well. And
pregnant elephant look. I know what you're talking about, but I've never heard that description.
You
before.
Haven't?
I don't know. Where have I been living, for God's sake?
No, really.
Wow.
No, I saw one on eBay one night for sale, and I sent the owner an email. And I said, I love your car. When is it due? She had no idea what I was talking about.
Hello.
So
we get that a lot when we talk to people. It's not a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but you know, it's my passion, and you know, I am so pleased that you folks noticed it and contacted me on this, because it's something that, you know, I'd like to. I'm working on a book right now on the cars that never were. It's a matter of, you know, getting it together and getting it funded and all that kind of stuff.
You also have on your website that you have those pictures from the advertisements, and they are not necessarily I don't want to say they're redone like advertisements, because you don't have all the written script and all that stuff, but you have the pictures from it, and then you insert celebrities from the past in some of those. And I think probably the one that kind of does a double take two of them, one of which is the Marilyn Monroe one with a out in Palm Desert
55
next to, yeah, next to that, and
Yeah.
the one that is next to a Marilyn statue.
Yes, yes. Yeah, both of those were amazing because it's the pink 61 Eldorado next to the Maryland statue was actually a friend's car. And I took that picture in a Trader Joe's parking lot. And if you go into on my website, the before and afters, you can see where the car started and where it ended. And also the Maryland shot is in there also. Both of those images were taken just the car itself in a regular environment, a car show or whatever. And then everything was added into it with Maryland. The beach was added into it. All the detail was added into it. But when you do these things, you got to be careful to make sure the lighting is consistent so that it doesn't look funky. You've got to make sure that, if Maryland's right face is exposed to the sun, the card's got to be the same exposure. So it takes a little work, but it's also like a study in balance when you do these things.
I think the other one I noticed too was the Paul Newman one where you were next to a Lincoln Cosmopolitan era Woody, and we know Lincoln never made a Woody, but still it's jarring to look at it and go, that actually would have been pretty good if they had done that.
And it could have been done because they were running Lincolns and Mercuries on the same frame for that whole period. So they could have done it and made a really, really unique car.
Yeah, and I'm still enamored, like I said, with the DeVille Nomad style vehicle, because I can see that as very, very easily done with a little, welding quarter panels on, and I'm sure the front sheet metal could easily be massaged to fit on a 55 chassis, a 55 Chevy Nomad. And I'm looking at it, go, that proportion, and that was right. And talk about a personal luxury car that would have been great at Cadillac.
And to show you how much General Motors really, some of those vehicles fit that kind of Nomad / custom safari design is the 57 Oldsmobile that you have in there that you put that roof on. And it looks like it's just another car that General Motors did, and it looks like it belongs that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
it's the woulda, shoulda, coulda cars.
Yeah, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Yeah. And the thing that's cool about it is, I've done the 57 Buick limousine also. And I've got that in one of the pieces with the 57 Cadillac wagon. And it's in front of a hotel in Florida. And the piece looks really cool because everything is consistent with the time period and the lighting and everything else. So, they're just fun to do. And the great thing about it is I can take them apart. I can adjust them because they're all in Photoshop. They're all in layers. And that's the great thing about using Photoshop as opposed to AIs, because you can go back on these things and change layer by layer if you want to, and use the original image for another piece, which I've done several times. So, so that's kind of it.
It's interesting. You used to go out to, and I don't know if you still do, but the car show that's out in the Pasadena area, California, the San Marino show. I think you had a tent there and you were showing cars around. I think that's the first time I saw your artwork, and I just stared at it and, slack-jawed and the whole bit. But the fact that I would imagine people's reaction to seeing that kind of stuff, especially in a crowd like that basically is your audience, I would imagine their reactions were pretty specific.
I've had some really, really great comments, and it's also been a place where I've found clients and I've done pieces of them. On the website, it's got a picture that I did for this couple in San Marino. He loves this Mustang. It's a modern day Mustang. He also loves Tina Turner. So she said, can you do a piece with Tina Turner? Because she saw the piece with Liz Taylor in the back of the 63 Lincoln. I said, I can do anything you want. I can put Bugs Bunny in the car if you want. So I worked on this piece and found an appropriate picture of Tina, melded it in with the car. The guy absolutely loved it. And I've rebuilt it to another image with a different Tina since she passed. But it's so much fun. San Marino is a great show. I've met some really fun people. I met Chip Foose a couple years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. I was there.
Yeah, he saw that piece I had done of the 53 Cadillac wagon with the Airstream trailer in front of Mount Rushmore. He loved that piece. He thought that was so cool. So, it's a good avenue for meeting people. A lot of times people will see the artwork and they won't realize what goes into it or the cost of having it printed. Mm-hmm. So when I tell them the price, they kind of go, "Oh, that's too much money,"
What do those usually go? Just out of curiosity, what do some of your artwork usually go for?
Well, the generalized prints that I have that are already, in the system, they usually go for $135. Mm-hmm. And that's 18 by 24, and that's a professionally printed clay on watercolor stock. Sure. So it costs $40 to print. So you're kind of going, okay, if you want a real piece of art, this is what you got. If you want to buy a poster, 2 booths down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, $40 to print plus how many hours of labor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's the thing. And I mean, these things are signed. I mean, they're original pieces of art, and they're done with fade-resistant archival inks by this great printer over here on Avenue 64. And he's just the best printer that I've ever found. So it's worth it. The piece comes out looking like it's a piece of art, not just a poster.
You haven't done that thing where some artists have done. I've seen those car posters, if you will, or car art from Vegas, where it always shows these classic cars running as if it's back in the day in Sin City, except for they've inserted the part where headlights operate and taillights operate. And no, don't do that. I mean, it's nice, but it's a little sticky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't do that, Stephen. No. Okay,
I won't. I won't do that. No. All I've done is I had a great picture of Las Vegas from the 50s, and I superimposed my 60 Buick limousine in the parking lot along with the 57 Olds Nomad with a woman getting out of it. And people were just blown away by that piece. They said, "Where did those cars come from? How did you do that?"
Okay, so the 60 limousine is real?
No, they never made
good.
it.
I'm just following along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's funny because you can put it in a piece with real cars behind it, and it really blows people away. Oh, I didn't know they made that car.
Oh, okay.
And that's the conversation Randy and I were having before you got on.
Yes.
Yeah. But the fun thing is when people come up and go, "My dad had that exact car."
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
People
and you try to be cool so you don't embarrass them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the comment was maybe, "Oh, that was the Canadian version."
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like anybody in my business, my former business before I retired, but I would have people come up to me when I used to be a sportscaster at Fox 11, and it was in LA, and people would come up to me like recently and go, "Oh, you're the guy from Fox." I go, "Well, yeah, I mean, like 20 years ago, but yeah." And then they said, "Oh, I watch you all the time, man." And it's just like, okay,
really?
How old is your TV set? That's what I'd like to know.
I didn't know TVs could store old TV shows.
Apparently it's in the ether and it just goes around to Mars and comes back. Yeah, I don't know how long it takes.
Absolutely. No kidding.
And we thank you for taking time to join us here. If people want to kind of reach out to you and get a hold of you, how would they do that?
They can go to my website, which is www.auto-visuals, that's plural, auto-visuals.com. And I've got a link on there, and I've got my phone number on there, and they're always welcome to give me a call and browse the page and be in touch however they'd like to.
Okay. Very good. So you could talk to him, you could give him ideas on, maybe give him some suggestions on his next car. You never know how that's going to work. Maybe he'll do it.
You never know. And that's the great thing about it.
Very cool. Stephen, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much. It's certainly a lot of fun, and we love these car stories. We really do.
Well, thank you, Bob.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you out there for watching the episode and getting the car stories. If you guys like today's show, how about giving us a thumbs up? There we go. Thumbs up on YouTube. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram. And by the way, our Instagram is working once again. More fun episodes are ahead. So for Hot Rod Bob and Stephen in California, I'm Randy Cardoon here at our Two Tired Guys Studios in Washington State. We'll see you next time on the next Talking About Cars podcast. So long, everybody.